Welcome everyone to our first Old World Behemoths battle report in 20 minutes. We've got 1,000 points worth of TTS gameplay for you today. We're going to try and get through it real quick. It's going to be up to 5 times speed, so when we get to the battle report, keep an eye out. We'll maybe pause and stop over some important roles and bits and pieces, but very much looking forward to showing you a little bit of our prep for a 1,000-point tournament that we know is coming up in the next 6 or 8 weeks. Today it's me and Alex. Thanks, big call out already to our key Patreon members, Death1942, Ghost, Joshua, Sick and Silver Dave. Thank you so much. You're already helping make sure that we can actually have the recording time on this platform, so appreciate that. Shall we get straight into the lists, Alex?
Yeah, we should. And a quick note, I think everybody these days when they go online is watching a Warhol game.
Ugh.
And notably we seem to be detractors from that, where we want and are still stubborn staying on Tabletop Simulator. Our argument to be made perhaps is that the visuals are better, gameplay probably a bit less efficient as you'll see in some of the recording with models floating here and there, but I think it's visually more appealing. But yes, let's go on to the lists.
Definitely more striking. I will use that moment to call out if anyone does have some Tabletop Simulator tips as we go through our battle report and want to stick them in the comments to make our lives a little easier as we continue to do some of these reports, please do so. But let's talk about lists. So 1,000 points is a really great opportunity to exercise some of the stuff that you just don't see at higher points levels, and some of that are the armies of infamy that just don't get a shoe in when you're looking at competitive play at 2,000 points, even with all the comp that we're seeing at the moment. So I'm taking Order of the White Wolf. Still a couple of points here and there to award, but some restrictions I suppose that we should be clear about for list building for this particular scenario based on what we know is going to happen from the players pack. No single unit can be more than 250 points. There are no duplicates outside of core in which you can duplicate a core choice twice. But otherwise, everything is very limited. I don't think that there were limitations on characters this time around or anything on magic items or anything for us. But the big one just to point out is that nothing can be worth more than 250 points. There is also a 250 point cap on both special and rare, and you must spend 250 points on characters, and you must spend 250 points on core. So for me, following the knightly orders restrictions, I've got a chapter master. Got to take a chapter master in the knightly orders. He's on a barded warhorse with white cloak and sword of might. I've got a priest of Ulrich with a great weapon and some defensives, also on a barded warhorse. My core is 1 unit of inner circle knights with the silver horn to give them that reroll for swift stride dice when they need it. Full command in there. 2 units of 5 Empire Knights of the White Wolf. That's my duplicate core choice. They are drilled, importantly, and I'll talk to that in the battle report. And then lastly, 3 Demigryph Knights of the White Wolf with the icon of Moor to make them terror-causing, which happen to be very handy in our little game. Over to you, Alex.
Yes, and quick note on that one, the all cavalry, right?
All cavalry.
Yep.
There's not an infantry model, there's not a war machine, nothing, all cavalry.
That's very nice. Well, across to me, talking about armies of infamy that never see the light of day, Expedition Force. Couple of notes here. So I wanted to try out Burlock, Damnenson. Never tried him before. Heard he was good. Turned out he is good, as we'll find out in it. So I've got an engineer here as a battle standard bearer. He's got the Master Rune of Grugny. That's the one that gives a 5-up ward save to the unit and another bubble out the side. Burlock himself, 17 Thunderers and core with Expeditionary Marksman, which allows them to move and shoot without penalty. With full command, 2 Scout Gyrocopters in core, a Dwarf Cart, which is a miner's cart, and the theory behind this was, in principle, that the handguns don't have quick shot, so I thought, well, why not try out blasting charges? They gain quick shot. Let's give it a go. A cannon with a Rune of Reloading, another 2 Scout Gyrocopters in special, and maybe my list is illegal under the tournament guides. I think we'll confirm with the organisers later, but I think they need to actually be core units to get that double.
We'll see. It'll be fine.
We'll see. It's fine. And an organ gun. light it up. So it's definitely lots of artillery, lots of shooting and moving, but the Thunderers are kind of supposed to be that tank unit here.
Pointing out for Expeditionary Force, your artillery is 1 toughness left, but they don't have move or shoot anymore.
This is very true. Which turns out insane.
It's fabulous.
On cannons.
Very good.
Absolutely insane. Okay. So what we might do here, guys, is we'll switch over to the recording in process. Again, it'll be sped up, so we're doing like an NFL style review as we go through the game.
You may as well keep playing until we get into rolls. But some quick notes while we're sort of playing through. This is a 4x3 board. So what you've got us setting up here is 4x3. I think I won the roll off to see who's deploying, and I chose you because I have a drop or two less than you. So it was nice and quick and easy. For me, it was Empire Knights on the side. For you, it was Thunderers in the forest and Gyrocopters up front. Any particular thing you were worrying about?
I think it was just using the forest as terrain because I knew you were going to come fast, and the only way I was going to stop a mounted charge was trying to force that difficult terrain, drop the highest dice. So get them in the forest, try and bunker down where I can because I know that I can move without penalty. So we'll see. Also noting that I did entrench technically the 2 war machines that will come up in a second. And the Thunderers, because Burlock himself can do a war machine and either a unit of Quarrelers or Thunderers.
Which is so good. We'll talk to Burlock, I suppose, when he continues to be a royal pain. One of the things you'll notice about TTS right now, my Empire Knights are floating, and they're just starting to float away. You can do all sorts of lovely import things to make the models look nicer, and I've got 3D models that are animated and everything else, but they just hate this particular mod when we're actually doing the battle setups. Now, for me, it was making sure that I could try and get those 2 drilled units of Empire Knights up the board as soon as possible.
And you can see my vanguards here.
Yeah. The Demigryphs were in the forest looking for, again, just maybe a touch of protection from the Clatter Guns. And then I was sort of undecided. I was going to send the Inner Circle Knights up the left, but I actually realized it was probably worthwhile to put pressure on you on the right and send 2 units up. So I actually, in retrospect, would do this placement ever so slightly differently. But we'll have a look into that. So I think this is opening turn, me doing drilled to get the Empire Knights up. Obviously not wanting to be taking Gyrocopter impact hits, even if it meant that I could countercharge, so trying to get them up as fast as possible. I do something slightly illegal with my Inner Circle Knights, which I'm not sure whether I'll sort of accurately demonstrate. I think at this point I was trying to go, do I send them up to the left or the right? But the Inner Circles should have been in a column of 2 across, not 3 across. There's only 8 models in there, so I can't actually be longer by only doing 3. They needed to be 4 long, and I did not do that. I only made them 3 long. Trying to reorganize my lovely floating Empire Knights. Again, drilled. Super important, I think, in this format, just to get them up the board. Trying to accurately do distances here on TTS is a learned skill.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
It's an art form, rather than
It
science.
is absolutely an art form. As you can see, I'm picking up bloody movement trays and moving them all over the place. So that's where I should have kept them in a column of 2 rather than putting them in 3 across for my marching column move. Either way, I don't think it materially impacts anything. If anything, I've used more movement to get these guys going up the board in terms of pivoting or moving around. But just trying to reorganize them as well. Lovely TTS. But that was me. That was my first turn. I think I did get the prayer off for the unit of Inner Circle Knights to stop rerolls forced rerolls of 6s in combat.
You can see my march check happening here as you're that close. I just need that extra few inches, which I do pass off Leadership 9. They did take a test as well, which they do pass off a 5, and they can go 20 inches and still shoot without penalty.
So good.
On the Clatter Guns, which is incredible. So basically here, it's just getting the gyros out of dodge as much as I can. And then here, the miner's cart, I realized probably very inconveniently placed in front of the organ gun, because what I want to do is try and move backwards with the Thunderers, which we're just doing here, and we work out I've actually gone a little too far, with me, of course, assuming I've got a Rune of Passage on there, which I don't, which then we fix up very quickly on that side. But what I'm trying to make sure is that, I'm going for either the Empire Knights or the Inner Circle Knights, depending on what it is. And here we're trying to work out, okay, well, what's the closest charge? So is there a way that I can angle to actually force you to come through the woods? And I think we end up in not really. Not enough movement to cause a material difference.
No, and ultimately, it doesn't necessarily make that much of a difference, as you'll see in a second when we get into my turn 2. But obviously, the first fusillade of shooting goes out. What are you thinking in terms of targets?
Well, I think the easy points for me are the Empire Knights, and I must admit I was thinking, okay, the Empire Knights are way closer. They're definitely gonna get in. So here's my first bunch of shooting. So in this case, it's the Thunderers shooting at close range at the Empire Knights, get quite a few hits, and I end up doing, I think it's 4 wounds.
Seems about right. Not sure what the save outcomes were. We'll get there in a minute. I think I was agonizing. I think I was agonizing over a missing model at that point.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because we were saying they were potentially too close or whatever.
Yeah. So I think you got one Empire Knight.
Yeah, I think so, because that's you taking a set. And then these are my second clattergun shots off of, my first clattergun shots, I should say, off the gyros next to you. I think I get 8 shots. They're hitting on 4s because of the skill 4 with multi-shot, which is just fantastic to have on a... There's 1 Armor Bane, 5 normal saves.
I think this does it for the unit.
I think this does do it. This is you trying to work out
out saves. Yep. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But I suppose what should be spoken about for the clatterguns, they are move and shoot and quick shot. So they are pretty insane. The 2d6 I think bites you a couple of times. You rolled 1, you only got 2 shots and a couple of other bits and pieces. But for the most part, particularly against toughness 3, even with a 3-up armor save, those clatterguns are so good.
Yep. And there's my cannon shot, which goes absolutely nowhere. It bounces and then sticks in the ground trying to shoot at the demigryphs. So now the organ gun's gonna take some shots, which again in this format, fantastic, the organ gun, because it's everything's relatively close range.
I think you're shooting the Empire Knights here.
I am, yes.
Yeah.
This is me thinking, try and get points on the board, rather than having you with a lot of choices.
Definitely, and I mean it's so risky to leave when you're playing a gun line, to leave even one of those units with just a handful of models left. It is so risky for you to do so, because all they have to do is just get in and tie up a war machine. And the Empire Knights themselves are more than capable of battling over the crew, even if they don't kill them outright.
So kill 2, you take a panic test, which you pass, and then it's over. Those are my that's my gyro shots with 2 shots. Yeah,
I think you still kill one.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, still kill one. Now it's your turn too.
This is the true form to my dice. So I got the prayer off adding D3 to their charge distance, and I decide, okay, the inner circles are going to have to try and make that long distance charge. They should be able to make it. They've got reroll Swift Stride. They've got a charge of movement 7, which goes to movement 6. But even if I roll mediocre on the 2d6, I should, with Swift Stride and the D3 modifier, be able to get in. So I think we go and we do stand and shoot first. I think this is you shooting the rivet gun, so trying to figure out how many shots you get.
3 hits. And rivet gun's actually insane.
It's very good. It's only strength 3 AP 2, but I think it still potentially gets a knight. I think by the time the knights actually get into you, they've only lost 2 of their number, but we'll talk to that in a second. I think these are the Thunderers. Yeah,
because quite a lot.
Yeah,
and I do end up killing 1, I believe. Yes,
looks like it.
For combat res. Yep.
Yeah, just worth noting that the model count on that unit is all over the place on the perspectives. So I think I needed a 14.
You did,
here.
Through the forest.
Through the forest, so difficult terrain and taking all the things.
That was a 1 and a 2. That was a 1 and a 2 of the initial charge roll. So it drops to the 1. This is you adding your prayer modifier, I believe.
Yeah. I think I do the prayer modifier first to see whether I could do the thing, and I get another 1, which is great. And then I do my Swift Stride. First roll's a 4, third roll's a 1. Yeah. So that's a total of 3 inches added to 6 inches. So because of the failed charge, I go forward literally 3 inches and no further. So they drill to basically get that line out, because that's what they would have done before the move. I marched those demigryphs up again. I forgot to do a march check, I will point out here.
I'm sure you'll pass.
But they're not, well, I mean, you say that, but they're not Leadership 9, those demigryphs, which is interesting.
Unlike dwarves.
Unlike dwarves, who are all bloody Leadership 9. So my turn's nice, quick, and easy, and then we're back into Alex's turn too.
This is true. So me immediately moving, because I think I don't have a chance against those demigryph knights, so I go, let's try and kill as many inner circle knights as possible.
We spoke about this, and we were talking in the moment around, well, what's your actual best chance for taking something out? Because if he turns to focus on the demigryphs, they were a 2-up save, toughness 4, 3 wins each. It's so unlikely that you're going to be able to churn through them, even with that amount of shooting, and then you're just going to have the inner circle knights sitting on your flank anyway. So I think you pivoted here, and
I reform, and I make a pretty critical mistake.
Yeah.
Oversight is probably the word, because as we later find out in the turns, maybe I was a little overconfident in how well I would do against the inner circle knights, but I actually moved the dwarves within your
minimum charge distance,
which will absolutely destroy their ability to use their handguns and sound and shoot.
Yes. So here you've got some war machine moving, which is very good. The cannon getting out of harm's way of an overrun, which is really, really great. And then what's the shooting here?
This is the clatter gun starting to shoot at the inner circle knights. So again, lots of hits which they can generate. They seem to be doing 4 to 5 wounds every time. You save every single one. Yep. This is the second unit. 4 shots. 1 hit, 1 wound, which you save. Yep.
Love it. Inner Circle Knights, tough, 2+ armor save. Can't speak highly enough for it. It makes a massive difference. Even on toughness 3 bodies, that 2+ armor save.
So this is the organ gun firing. 8 shots. Below average.
I think you were pretty...
But, you know,
I still think you were pretty... It was the right decision to make, not to have to reroll one of those. I can't remember if the cannon here misfires. I think it might as well. So it was the right decision.
No, I think the cannon. We'll do it right now. The cannon's going to grape shot because it's within range. I think he does it right. He gets
he misfires.
I misfire
and you reroll it
with the engineer. Yeah. I get a reroll off the BSB engineer.
Yeah. Because
Burlock used his reroll once hit, and this is me just checking in the back end on a couple of things. 4 hits, which will take, and I think this does actually do it. Yep. 3 6s, and then we work out there's no armor bane, but it doesn't matter.
But even
-1 was enough to take out.
against toughness 3 bodies, and it's only a 4-up save. It was statistically likely they were going to get there, and unlike most of my other saves in this particular game, that one sort of lined up.
And here's Burlock doing his reroll once to hit on the Thunderers against your inner circle knights.
Such a steal for 85 points to be able to put him in a unit
if you have the build to suit him.
Definitely. Is he limited to Expeditionary Force as well, or can he be taken in regular dwarves?
He can be taken in regular dwarves. All
right, so I think we're getting into my turn 2 now.
I think you're still taking saves, I believe.
Was it the organ gun shooting into the demis? Maybe I think it did 2 wounds.
I think it was more the inner circle knights.
Oh, okay. All the same. Oh yes, you only scored. Yeah, you only got 1 wound.
Yep. And then this is us, measuring the absolute travesty of, oh gosh, we've
what's
absolutely
happened here?
not close enough to stand and shoot. So
amazing. You might want to skip forward now until I'm back, because I think I was away for a couple of minutes here.
No, this is me shooting with the blasting charges as you did go away.
Was it?
Yep, and I got 1. I remember.
Oh yes, fabulous blasting charges. Now this time there's no way the charge is going to fail, which is fortunate for me. So I think the demigryphs are going in on the organ gun, and I'm going to try and use skirmish against the organ gun as much as I possibly can, understanding that it's going to end up aligning to my demigryphs. So they're going to try and align in such a way to overrun then into the unit, which I think we sort of agreed through creative propositioning that it would work.
Work that way. Well, skirmish is a disaster, right? In trying to create it, and this is you rolling your charge.
There we go. Yeah. So the inner circles are definitely in.
Yep.
And this, another quirk of TTS and the snapping that goes on with those movement trays, cannot get those knights lined up. But either way, unit of knights is in. They didn't take any casualties on the way in, so no points for combat res for you. The demis are going in. That's them against the organ gun.
Easily make it. Yeah, and I remember we did one stand and shoot with a blasting charge.
We did,
against
yeah,
the
for the crew.
Knights. Didn't do anything, but I think we had to do. We would check that later on if that was possible, but I don't think we found anything against it.
No. So I think I elect to do the combat with the demis first. I think this is knight attacks. So their weapon skill...
This is organ gun gets absolutely wrecked.
Munched. And then just checking their overrun into the unit as well.
Yeah, so we didn't have the mining cart on a base, which we kind of later add. But either way, we just agreed that it was not in a position to block the overrun.
So Order of the White Wolf, obviously for those who are unfamiliar with the knightly orders, Order of the White Wolf gives them Furious Charge, which means if they're charging over 3 inches, they are getting an additional attack. On top of that, they swap out their weapons for something called a Wolf Hammer, which is basically a great weapon without strikes last. And then it also adds 1 point less of strength in subsequent rounds of combat when they haven't charged more than 3 inches, which is important to point out. But effectively, we're just going through combat in terms of who's hitting first. I think the Chapter Master goes first, doesn't kill anyone. Then it goes...
Now the Knights.
Yeah, then it goes on to the the Demigryphs I think we do first.
No, these are the Inner Circle Knights.
Are they? Oh, yes, with the rerolls.
Yep.
And I think we start up with a bit of a tally. You still save a remarkable number of ward saves, I will say. True to form.
Some. I mean, they did come into effect. I would say that in this format, probably not worth it. The 80 points.
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, it saves... I suppose it's the difference between the entire unit being destroyed by my attacks and you still having some unit left. Not that it necessarily matters as we sort of talk to the follow-up.
These are the Demigryphs.
Yeah.
Which I'm not left with many dwarves left after that. So these are the horses, I think, remaining from your Inner Circle Knights, which I do manage to save, all of them.
Yep.
Oh, no, lose one more.
So I think it boils down to... These are the horses. I think the previous may have been the Demigryphs. But I think it does boil down to a double one, or needing a double one for you to stay in combat.
Effectively, yes. And this is me, by the way, doing my attack with Burlock. And I hit with a hammer. And Burlock, you roll an artillery dice for his strength. On a misfire, his hammer basically blows up and he takes a wound. Which, of course, happens as he swings back. Then my engineer rolls. He gets a hit. He doesn't wound. Or he does wound, but there's no AP on it. So you have a very easy 2-up save. So, yeah, we do work out that I'm losing combat. I'm auto-breaking. You double me, so I need a double one. The BSB reroll, which again, to no avail.
It's still worthwhile doing. I mean, that's also, with the BSBs, you may as well. You never know when you're going to be able to pull that off. Now we go through the flee and follow-up here, where it could have, if the Inner Circle Knights were not drilled, could have ended up with the Inner Circle Knights stopping themselves. But the way that we end up with the movement from center of my unit to center of your unit, moving away, even with the modifiers from the terrain, I think this is us trying to figure out what just has to happen with the drilled. I think I figure out that I need to take 2 models off to get through. But in essence, the dwarves are captured, the BSB, the banner, the poor general, all end up toast. This is also where I then fail, I suppose, when we get into it after we've moved everything off the movement trace. I do replace the models here in a second because the floating knights are just getting to me. But the Demigryphs fail the first of 2 overrun checks, which is a little bit annoying. They have a bit of a history of doing that for me. Which makes me want to try and think about different ways that we can do it.
I mean, that's Warhammer.
It is. Yeah. But maybe, I mean, if I could give them the Gleaming Pennant to re-roll a leadership test, then I would. But Sadly, I can't. So from here, it's just a matter of figuring out, well, what can you do to try and maximize the damage that you're doing to my unit? And we have quite a lengthy discourse at this point, I think, about what the cannons look
Cannon
likely
fire.
to do.
So the cannon moves because it can move and shoot, and trying to clip as many models as we can. So just as you're working through that, so I basically move the cannon up. I've turned the mining cart because I want the mining cart in combat to blow up.
What is the outcome of that? What's the explosion?
So it's not great, but it's thematic.
Sure.
Right. So you still have to roll a 4 up, and it does, and it blows up, and it does D6 strength 3 hits. So it's effectively like getting hit by a blasting charge, but it's all units within 3. So I figured, the cannon's probably okay because it's going to be high toughness against strength against that. But for your units, it'll be bad. So here we are measuring the different cannon bounces, and we basically end up on a spot where you have to draw a line that goes through more demigryphs than actual inner circle knights. And it's interesting, right? Because I was weighing up, do I just grape shot here? But I was thinking, no. Like, you want to be doing multi-wound hits to as many of the demigryphs. So this was actually quite a pivotal moment in the game, because I feel like, you've just destroyed my main one, but if a cannon is able to quite effectively take out even one of the demigryph knights, plus, or even spread wounds across the demigryph knights, then it's going to be essential. So we do 10 from the back of the inner circle knight, and of course, what do I roll? A 10. So it goes straight over the top of that, and then I do manage to wound the inner circle knight, and you roll a 6.
Yeah, inner circle knight armor, proof against cannonballs. Who knew?
Proof against cannons.
Who knew?
And now we're starting the clattergun shooting here. So there's, by the way, a floating knight, as you can see.
I love Tabletop Simulator for that sort of thing. It is very entertaining. But I mean, you can't see the inner circles, so now I think you turn your attention to the demigryphs. But I think the writing's on the wall here. We've got 3 turns left, I think. And we're starting to look at... I think this is only my turn 3, because it was into the... Oh, sorry, this is your turn 3, forgive me. We're about to go into my turn 4, so we've got 3 turns left, and it becomes a question of what can we kill and what can we stay alive. Now, immediately, as anyone who's played against skirmish anything recognises, so there's the reform for the demigryph knights to point back in this direction. In my movement phase. This is my turn 4.
I don't think I did a single wound.
Yeah, no, you did 2. You did 2.
I did 2.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
You did 2. So some classic corrections to the reform. Trying not to let the cannon get more than 1 hit on the inner circle knights. So I'm using drilled there to... In fact, I think it was just a reform to get them out into a single line. But then it just literally became, okay, well, what is Alex going to do now for 3 turns?
We speed up the game quite significantly at this time.
I think so. It's very much bouncing around charge arcs, as you'd expect, trying to put those clatterguns into the inner circle knights, which turns out was the correct strategy. And it was just luck, I feel, in the end, that turned its back on you, that meant that you didn't get a few more points. But
we do move them, of course. Great for bouncing around. Now, the mining cart, this is where we put it actually on its base, because I'm thinking, I just want it to take the charge of the demigryphs, but head on. So I don't want any movement, because I want to move the cannon to the side. Again, fantastic.
Being able to move it straight out, so
ability.
good.
Yep,
so good.
Yep, here, so that they're now out of overrun of the demigryphs, because we want to hit the inner circle knights. So pretty fast movement phase, and we'll put it. There's a floating knight again. So he's back. And then I think you just properly...
I did. I just deleted the whole lot.
So here are the clattergun shots at the inner circle knights. Again, they're good at wounding. They're great at wounding. And there's...
I think you killed 2 there because I just got unlucky with the armor saves. But at the same time, it's still strong. It's saturation shooting that gets through high armor saves, as we're all aware.
Yep.
But I think everything goes on the inner circles here.
It does. Yeah, including the incoming grape shot, which is soon to happen. So the second unit
That was plenty of hits. If that was indeed the hits, I can't remember.
Oh no, so we do you know?
Oh no,
what
that
I
was
think we
that your
forgot?
double ones? Okay, so
Yeah, and I don't. That was
that was a terror
yeah.
check.
Critically, we'll just pause
Yeah.
it. We'll just pause it for
Good
a
idea.
second.
So
Yeah.
the as I mentioned before, the Demogryph Knights have the icon of More, and that's an item that changes a fear-causing unit to a terror-causing unit or gives a unit fear. Now, because the Demogryphs normally cause fear, they're terror-causing. So it's been very useful for me in other games to have a unit of Demogryphs with terror. Now, I forgot, or rather I didn't think about in my utter tailoring against Alex's list, that dwarves have like a base leadership 9 and they don't go below 9.
Yeah.
So rather frustratingly, the terror didn't work out quite so well as I'd hoped, except in this case where he rolled a 10 and there's no BSB to save him. Not that BSB works on terror
You
checks.
can't use a
Yes,
BSB
yeah.
on terror checks. Yes.
But Dwarf Cart goes straight off, and that gives the Demogryphs the ability to redirect their charge into the cannon,
Yep.
which they promptly
and
do.
it bounces through the cannon, which actually we should have done a panic check, which we forgot to do, but the end result's the same.
It is. So the inner circles reform to try and force you to move those demis again. Move those gyros again. Now my
We just
intent
decided to
here,
remove the cannon.
yeah, my intent here was to have the demis reform, but of course they refuse to reform and they overrun instead.
Again.
May have given me the opportunity to at least chase you off a little bit,
Charge. Yep.
or have one last charge. I think you probably just would have moved to the edge of 24 inches. To be perfectly honest, or would have done that and have one unit hiding behind. But
yeah, and the funny thing is with Scout Gyros, they do have fire and flee. Now, so you can, if they're at the appropriate range, risky, but flee it's only 1d6 because you can't use the full d6 because of the rule.
Sure.
But you also get to add their Swift Stride, so it's not bad for trying to just get away. And this is me just pouring shots into the Inner Circle Knights, which is effectively... this is all the game is, because I think at this point we were talking about the fact that even next turn, you've got one last turn, it'll be a reform to turn around, and so you're just having to die. Now here we almost actually get caught out because I totally forgot that if I killed all the Inner Circle Knights, you would have become skirmish characters.
Which would have been very handy for my Chapter Master to be able to try and charge immediately with no ability for you to stand and shoot. Oh no, it's quick shot, so never mind. You do get, and you got Dwarven
still
crafted.
Get it. And maybe
I'm
fire
sure.
and flee.
Maybe fire and flee. So I suppose the Chapter Master, if the Inner Circle had died, but of course the Inner Circle passes 2 armor saves to get there.
Of course.
Now the Priest of Ulrich here dies, and I don't realise it because I'm too used to playing a High Priest of Ulrich, which has 3 wounds. But the Priest of Ulrich is dead here, which I think I remove before you start your next turn, but I'm just reshuffling things around, getting them around. I don't see much point at this point. I think this is a big gap because you step away as well. But I don't see a whole lot of point in terms of, just skip through.
This was a child emergency.
Yes. As we're all familiar with playing games at 11:30 at night, if a child wakes up, the game gets paused, which is one of the nice things about TTS again. But I don't see a huge amount of point in pursuing it because this is my turn 6. So this is it for me. So I think what I end up doing eventually is splitting out the Chapter Master from the Inner Circle Knights to force you to not have saturation shooting on the one unit. So I think I recognise here Priest of Ulrich is dead, so I take him away, and then I split out. The Inner Circle goes into the forest, the Chapter Master heads backwards, and then it's just a matter of can you kill either one of those. Chapter Master gets a little bit more protection against the Clatterguns because he's toughness 4, whereas the Inner Circle's a strength 4 but toughness 3. So there he goes. He has to do a little bit of turning.
And that was you doing your march checks. I believe
neither one of them passed. Neither one of them passed.
Yes.
Neither one of them passed. So on Leadership 9, neither one of them passed their march checks, which maybe would have got one of them into a line of sight position, maybe not, or at least fully within the forest. But given that you have move 20 to get yourself wherever you'd like to go, I'm not sure whether it made that much of a difference. So I think
I don't think it made much difference.
No, you kill the Inner Circle Knight here.
Yes.
I think I
and
failed
we were
one of his
talking
armor
about
saves.
it because we want to score points, right?
Definitely.
So let's focus fire on one, and then If it didn't happen, I think if I didn't wound him, I'd still try to kill the Inner Circle Knights off the second unit.
It's 300 points.
And this is me. I need to wound off both. Unfortunately, did not.
So armor save fails, but the ward save gets it.
Yep.
Inner Circle's done. That's it.
Okay.
So this is where we land. 999 to 579 by dint of really 3 banners off that unit of Thunderers, plus the BSB, plus the General. I think that's what gets me all the points in the end. But remarkably, each of us only had 4 models left, which I thought was pretty interesting given the 1,000-point format, where it might just end up being that it's only your core elites that survive and everything else dies.
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise that the Scout Gyrocopters lived against an all-combat army. No one can catch them if you're smart. But yeah, to me, the big turnarounds was losing, almost 400 plus 450 points in that Thunderer unit.
Definitely. So
within this format, it's perhaps not always good to just put all your eggs in one basket, especially if they're not long bids or something like that. So yeah, so a couple of key learnings, changes to be made for sure. Otherwise, I'm a big supporter of the 1,000-point format.
Definitely.
Maybe aren't the best, because actually if you kill the BSB, it's not just the 50 points off the banner, it's that extra 50 points they get.
Definitely.
So he was worth 255 points, actually, if you think about it. In that's definitely not worth it in this format, because that's game swinging. Even though I still had 240 points left on the board, you effectively got 1,000 points.
Definitely. And it's interesting as well, thinking about how this is going to work for other armies. Now, we've got 2 relatively high leadership armies. Can an Orc and Goblin army or a Skaven army afford to not bring a BSB when it comes to panic checks or break tests? So it's interesting to think about the points trade that you're going to have to make, given that point scoring is not changing. The composition is changing, the way that you have to structure your armies is changing, the limitations on units is different, but point scoring is not. And it's going to be very important to bear that in mind when putting something together for this type of format. That said, 1,000 points, so enjoyable. I think we got this game done and dusted with interruptions in 90 minutes. So it was a lot of fun in comparison to the 3-hour 2,000-point game.
Especially online.
Definitely.
We can go for hours and hours. Okay, so that's the new format battle report. We thought we'd spice up Tabletop Simulator. We did later learn that we could record it at a higher quality using some other software. So if you guys enjoyed this type of battle report, it is a little different because it's sped up. But if you did enjoy it, we will look at doing them in higher quality. If you want the long form ones, we can, but you probably don't want to hear us bickering in the background over, different things. But I don't know, maybe they want to see the Floating Knights in HD.
Who knows? They're lovely 3D transfers from Total War Warhammer. So they're beautiful quality in HD, but relevant or not, who knows? Anyway, but thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have a couple more of these over the next couple of weeks. But drop us a note in the comments if you have any feedback or suggestions about things that you'd like to see. Otherwise, thank you so much from myself and from all of the Old World Behemoths. We'll catch you next time.